Black ownership in the legal space. It carries with it somewhat of a, I don't want to say a badge of honor, but it carries with it a huge responsibility. It carries with it being examined under a microscope. It carries with it a lot of other things that I'm not sure if, I'm looking at this from one lens. Other attorneys are looking at it from their ethnic or racial lens, or for women through their lens. And I can tell you, at times, it's a scary and challenging space. I recall the first time I went into a workers' compensation hearing, and she told me what to expect. And I walk in, and it's like good old boys, it's judges, and they're talking about where they fished last week and who went hunting this week and what investments they have here and there. And I'm standing right in front of them, and I'm like, sir, judge, what, and just totally being ignored. That happens, but you learn to deal with it. You learn to have a tougher skin. You learn to work around circumstances and situations, and you understand that you are properly trained. You've passed this exam called the bar, so you're on even playing field with everyone else. It's now up to you to find what it is inside of you, or to find mentors who are going to bring you along and help you in that maturation process, to help you to develop those skills. I was very fortunate. She spoke earlier about me not wanting to go with the prosecutor's office or with a huge firm in law school. I went to Howard University Law School. Wait, you? Love Howard. What I tell people is, because Howard got this bad rap of, well, if you go to Howard, people at Howard don't pass the bar. That's not true. Most of my classmates passed the bar the first time. Unfortunately, I didn't. I don't have a problem telling this story. I took the exam 5 times. The first time, missed by a few points. Second, third, and fourth time, missed by 1 point. The very last time I took it, I didn't do all that studying. I did a lot more introspective prayer, finding mentors, and I passed by 1 point, which told me that God had his hand on it, not me. And so, when I look at being in this space, I look at being this space that God has put me here for a purpose. This is where you are. These are the type of cases he's directing us to do. And so it's those kind of things that I feel I need to now start giving back, helping young attorneys as many of the attorneys help me. And I go back to the Howard thing. It is not, like I said, most of my classmates passed the first time. But what Howard did do for me is it prepared me when I started working with my mom to hit the ground running and know what it is to practice law. They taught me a lot of practical applications of the practice of law. I had an opportunity to see people like Judge Luke Moore, one of our professors, Dugas. These guys were very much like Ken Johnson, who she mentioned earlier. These people were trailblazers on the civil rights path. And so it gave me an opportunity to look at not only my mother, who was in that space as an attorney, but these other trailblazers. And I could go on and mention others in the Baltimore area, but it let me know that I was not alone, that I could reach out to experienced attorneys as persons who would mentor me. And I would say that has helped us to sustain our practice. It's helped me tremendously in my development.
Darkest day? I'd have to put an S on that for darkest days. And again, not so much as being a female attorney, but as being an African-American attorney. Although there have been situations where, as being a female, I would find myself in a boardroom or in a deposition room where I was the only female, but I didn't feel uncomfortable with the all boys room. I did not. Felt quite comfortable. But as an African American, somehow I always sensed I was the minority in the room. And many times I was the only minority African American in the room. But it was when I got into private practice that it really concerned me, because Mark and I had ideas of growth and expansion and perhaps joint venturing with other firms, white firms. And we made an attempt twice. And both times we really thought we were on the trajectory to getting to that point. And it didn't happen. And I'm convinced in my heart it didn't happen because the powers to be did not want to have a minority firm merging with their firm. That was heartbreaking in both instances, and one of which, I'm not going to name names, but I'll describe the situation, was a large firm that started off as a small, humble firm like we did and became big because of the tobacco cases, okay? And so in order for them to really get the approval of the state to be handling this and representing the interests of the state and the citizens, to get this huge settlement that ultimately came, there was a need to show some minority representation. The owner and the powers to be in that particular firm came to our firm, but to pick our of counsel, who was an experienced judge, a city solicitor, and who had a great admiration for us. So he agreed to come to our small firm to serve as of counsel, and he was in essence a rainmaker for us because he could bring large clients to us. So the big giant comes and takes our of counsel, our lamb. It reminds me of a story in the Bible where the story is presented to David by Nathan about, you came in and someone stole the little lamb, and who was that? You were that person. So, but our of counsel has such dignity. He says, no, I can't just come be window dressing for you, but why don't you bring in this firm that I'm a part of? And he says, oh no, we cannot do that. And he did not. That broke our hearts, because if we were to have gotten just a tiny little bit of what was coming down with those tobacco cases, oh my God, we would have been an explosive minority firm in that space in the DMV area. And then there were other situations like that where we thought it was going to happen. And it could happen, and it should have happened. Because when I went to South Africa and had the opportunity to be in the presence of the largest firm there in South Africa, and to realize that two partners there were African Americans, one of whom I had met in Dallas at the National Bar Association, and who just happened to say, if you're ever in South Africa, drop by to see me. This was the most amazing thing. I get in this room, I'm with Michael Steele, because we were part of the delegation that the former Lieutenant Governor Michael Steele invited us to go on a trade mission trip. So we're in this conference room, largest law firm in South Africa. Who walks in? I can't remember his name now, but the same guy who said, if you're ever in South Africa, look us up. He didn't know I was coming. I didn't know he was with that firm. We see each other and we go, wow. So Mike Steele said, Evelyn, everywhere you go, you know somebody. I said, well, I guess that's the way it is. Because I did the same thing in Ghana, because I had a lot of friends in Ghana when we did the trip there. But to get back to the darkest moment, it didn't have to be, because that firm and other firms there in Johannesburg intentionally decided that they were going to be bringing in black partners and they were going to be helping minority firms. And most recently, we've experienced it. We have experienced the flip side of it, and we know it can happen because we're now co-counsel with the Levin firm in Pensacola, Florida. And they openly embraced us about a year ago when I attended the Mass Tort Made Perfect conference there. I had the warmest welcome. And when I realized that they have minority and female partners and associates there, but they didn't want to just have that. They said, we're ready to partner with you. So to be able to partner with a firm like that with our mass torts, we know that we can still give the small firm attention to our clients, but with big firm results, because there are some firms out there that are willing to be fair, that are willing to embrace. And we're blessed to have come this far and to see a complete turnaround for us. I mean, things could still be better, but we're appreciative of the changes we've seen.